The geography of the Earth determines the survival of nations. Strip away the rhetoric of ideology or human rights, and you find that global conflict is a battle for physical dirt and strategic positioning. Most people view the global balance of power through the lens of their own morality, religion, or political leanings. These viewpoints act as blinders, obscuring the objective, often ruthless reality of how power actually functions on the ground. Looking at a physical map reveals a world divided between slow-burning civilizational transition zones and immediate, explosive flashpoints. One involves struggles lasting centuries. The other results in immediate, kinetic war. To understand the future of any conflict, you must read the map. Geography dictates the natural limits of power and defines the inherent vulnerabilities of every nation. There is currently no flashpoint on Earth more critical or volatile than Ukraine. In Old Slavic, the word Ukraine translates to on the edge, or quite literally, the borderland. The country is physically and culturally pinned between the expanding European sphere to the west and the massive Russian sphere to the east. The current crisis follows a trajectory set long ago. When these borders were drawn onto the map, Ukraine's geography guaranteed it would become a permanent zone of friction. To understand the Russian perspective, we have to look at the physical topography of Eastern Europe, specifically a feature known as the Great European Plain. In western Ukraine, the Carpathian Mountains form a natural shield. This jagged terrain makes large-scale military movement incredibly difficult. East of those mountains, the shield disappears. The land transitions into a flat, featureless expanse rolling from Poland straight into the heart of Russia. This open corridor has served as a highway for invaders for centuries. Russia has been attacked through this exact route 3 times, by the Swedes, by Napoleon's French army, and by Nazi Germany. These historical invasions brought foreign armor deep into Soviet territory, leaving a legacy of strategic paranoia that still dictates Moscow's behavior today. To the Russian military establishment, this flat plain is an existential threat. They believe they must control this space to prevent the next inevitable push from the West. The physical map is reinforced by cultural geography. For centuries, the land of Ukraine was divided between the Russian, Ottoman, and Polish empires. This created a deeply intertwined cultural space. In the 19th century, movement between Moscow and these border territories was viewed as domestic travel within a single, unified domain. This shared home was reflected by literary figures like Leo Tolstoy, who treated these regions as an organic part of the Russian world. Modern Ukraine is split into 3 distinct cultural zones. The east is predominantly Russian-speaking. The west leans toward the Ukrainian language and European values, and the center remains a mixed territory. In the mindset of the Kremlin, Ukraine is not a separate, distant sovereignty, but a vital, missing piece of their own historical and cultural identity. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 left Russia in a state of extreme weakness. During this period, Russia's state assets were liquidated and its global power diminished, leaving it unable to protect its traditional spheres of influence. Western powers looked to capitalize on this vulnerability, attempting to transform border states like Ukraine and Georgia into a permanent buffer zone against a weakened Russia. For decades, Western powers encouraged the prospect of integration into the European Union and NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Many Western-leaning local elites embraced these promises of alliance, often overlooking the geographic reality of sharing a border with a massive military power that viewed such moves as an existential threat. By extending these political and military alliances to the edge of the Great European Plain, the West moved directly into Russia's most sensitive geographic red line. In statecraft, when a nation perceives a threat to its very existence, it will sacrifice economic stability, its international reputation, and human lives to neutralize it. As Russia regained its strength, it moved to re-establish centralized power and reclaim its historic geographic buffer. This tension first erupted in 2008, when Georgia attempted to break away from Moscow's influence and pivot toward the West. The result was an immediate Russian military response that secured 2 breakaway regions and effectively ended Georgia's westward trajectory. In 2014, the Maidan Revolution in Kyiv overthrew a Moscow-friendly government and reoriented Ukraine toward Europe. To the Kremlin, this shift represented a catastrophic loss of their strategic buffer. For Russian strategists, the 2014 revolution made a large-scale military intervention inevitable to secure their geographic underbelly. There is a wide gap between the clinical reality of military force and the diplomatic language of freedom and democracy used in front of cameras. While the West encouraged Ukraine's defiance, it ultimately left the nation to face the military consequences without direct intervention. When Ukraine's leadership requested physical protection through NATO membership, their allies provided equipment and rhetoric, but stopped short of committing their own troops. The true balance of power is indifferent to human suffering or moral pleas. It responds only to the hard realities of geography and force. International laws and moral alliances are lines drawn in the sand, shifting with the political tide. But the geography that dictates the fate of nations is carved in stone.